rain had soaked through my shoes, my jacket, and every ounce of patience I had left. It was 9:47 p.m. My car was dead, my phone was too. And I was standing on the side of a road I couldn't even name, watching headlights pass like I was invisible. I had no money for a tow, no way to call anyone, and the only thing louder than the storm was the voice in my head saying, "This is it. You tried. You failed. Go home." I was ready to give up. Then I heard the slow crunch of tires on gravel. An old pickup truck pulled over. The driver stepped out, tall, gray-bearded, eyes kind but distant, and said, "Pop the hood, miss." He didn't ask what I was doing out there. He didn't ask why I looked like I'd been crying for half an hour. He just helped, silently, without judgment. 10 minutes later, my car was running. He nodded once and said, "Don't start giving up now." I never even got his name. But the next morning, I saw his face on the news, and the truth about who he was left me speechless. My name's Haley. I'm 23, and at the time this happened, I felt like my life was already behind me. I was supposed to be finishing college that spring, supposed to be applying for internships, chasing a career, proving everyone wrong about the girl who came from nowhere, with nothing but stubbornness and a student loan. But that's not where I was headed. Instead, I was driving home, back home, to the same town I had once fought so hard to leave. I had dropped out 3 weeks earlier, quietly, without telling my friends, without telling my parents, without telling anyone who would try to talk me out of it, because I was tired of smiling through panic attacks, of pretending rent wasn't a problem, of working 2 jobs and still coming up short, of carrying every little thing alone, because asking for help felt like admitting I wasn't strong enough to be there in the first place. I told myself I'd go back eventually, but in my heart it felt like failure. I packed a duffel bag, locked my apartment door for the last time, and started the 5-hour drive with a borrowed car, a half-charged phone, and just enough gas to make it if I didn't stop. I didn't plan on getting stuck. I didn't plan on breaking down in the middle of nowhere. And I definitely didn't plan on standing in a rainstorm with no one coming and nothing left in me. When the car started sputtering just outside a rest stop, I pulled over and told myself it would be fine. But it wasn't. It died, completely. No lights, no engine, no signal. And then, of course, my phone followed. I tried flagging someone down, hand raised, heart pounding, but no one stopped. The sky opened up 10 minutes later, that kind of cold, soaking rain that makes you feel like the world is done with you. And for a while, I just stood there, shivering, crying, angry at myself, not just because I was stranded, but because deep down, I had started to believe maybe I deserved to be. I don't know how long I stood like that. 15 minutes? 40? Long enough to start thinking, maybe I'll just sleep in the car. Maybe this is what rock bottom looks like. And then I heard it. The gravel crunch of a slow-moving truck. Old engine, quiet tires. Headlights cutting through the rain like something out of a different time. It pulled over ahead of me. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Gray beard, flannel jacket, wide shoulders. Not threatening, just calm. He didn't ask what I was doing there. He didn't ask if I needed help. He just pointed at the hood and said, "Pop it." I hesitated when he said it. "Pop it." For a second, I thought about saying no, about locking the doors, about pretending I didn't need help, even though I clearly did. But there was something about his voice. It wasn't pushy, wasn't annoyed, just sure, solid. So I pulled the release lever, stepped out into the rain again, and met him at the front of the car. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't tell me what he was doing out there on a back road in the middle of a storm, in the kind of truck you only see in black and white photos or Sunday antique parades. He just lifted the hood, leaned in, and started talking to the engine like it had disappointed him personally. "Battery's dead," he muttered. "You try to start it more than twice?" I nodded. "Yeah, well, that'll do it." He walked back to his truck and pulled out jumper cables, like he'd done it 1,000 times, which, judging by the stains on his hands and the calm in his movements, he probably had. When he clipped the cables on, he looked at me for the first time, really looked at me. Not the kind of glance that scans a person for threat or worth. The kind that says, "I see you. You don't need to pretend you're okay right now. Get in my truck while it charges. It's warm." I didn't want to, but my hands were numb, my teeth were chattering, and for the first time in hours, someone was treating me like I was worth helping without having to earn it. So I climbed in. The inside of his truck smelled like motor oil, pine air freshener, and old coffee. The heater was on. There was a folded flannel shirt on the passenger seat and a thermos in the cup holder. He handed me the thermos without a word. The coffee inside was lukewarm but tasted like relief. We sat in silence for a while. I clutched the cup with both hands, breathing it in like it might fill something deeper than my lungs. He didn't ask questions, didn't ask what I was doing there, didn't comment on the tears that had dried on my cheeks or the mud on my shoes. He just waited. After 10 minutes, he leaned forward, checked the charge, and came back with a nod. "Try it now." I got out, climbed into the driver's seat, and turned the key. The engine coughed, then caught, like it had needed his quiet confidence to come back to life. I turned to thank him, but he was already walking back to his truck. "Wait," I called out. "What do I owe you?" He stopped, looked at me for a long moment, then said, "You don't owe me anything, miss. Just don't quit." "What?" "You looked like someone about to give up. Don't." Then he tipped his head, got into his truck, and drove off before I could ask his name. I watched the taillights disappear down the wet road, blinking slowly through the rain. He didn't even wait for thanks. But a few minutes later, when I went to wipe the fog off my windshield, I noticed something under the wiper blade. A small envelope, sealed. No name, no return address, just waiting for me to open it. At first, I thought it was a flyer, some gas station promo, or a mechanic's business card left behind as a marketing trick. But when I slid it out from under the wiper, I knew immediately it wasn't that. The paper was thick, smooth, clean. It wasn't soggy, even though it had been sitting in the rain. He must have tucked it there just before driving off, like he didn't want me to see him leave it. There was no writing on the front, no logo, no stamp, just a neatly folded envelope, sealed with a single piece of tape, and inside, $100 in cash, not 20s. A crisp, clean, $100 bill, folded once, perfectly square. My hands started shaking. I looked around like maybe he'd turned back, like maybe this was all some bizarre misunderstanding. But the road was empty. The truck was gone. Just me and the envelope, and one more thing inside, a single piece of paper torn from a notebook, handwritten. Slanted lettering, simple. "Use this to get home safe. But don't stay there long, or you've got more to do." That was it. No name, no phone number, no way to return it, no demand, no pity. Just belief. From a man who didn't know me, who could have driven past like everyone else, who saw a wet, defeated girl on the side of the road and didn't ask, "Why is she here?" He asked, "What does she need?" I sat in the driver's seat for a long time after that. I didn't cry, not the way I had earlier, when I felt abandoned. This was different. This was the kind of crying that comes when someone sees you, not for who you are in that moment, but for who you could still be, even if you don't believe it yourself yet. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know why he helped me. But for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I wanted to keep going. The next morning, I got coffee at a small-town diner just outside my parents' county line. I left the envelope sealed again in my bag. Like a secret I wasn't ready to explain. A television above the counter was showing the morning news. I wasn't really paying attention until I saw a familiar face. And suddenly, everything made sense. The volume on the diner's TV was low, but I heard just enough to catch a name. Local philanthropist and retired businessman David Granger was honored yesterday for nearly 2 decades of anonymous roadside aid and donations. I froze mid-sip. The screen showed a photo, not some posed professional headshot, but a candid image of a man stepping out of a familiar old pickup truck, wearing the same flannel jacket, same baseball cap pulled low over his brow. It was him, the same man who had pulled over for me in the rain, the man who fixed my car without asking for anything, the man who left me an envelope that helped me more than he could possibly know. I turned up the volume. The anchor continued. Known only to some as the Highway Angel, Mr. Granger never sought recognition. He began driving back roads after the tragic loss of his daughter, Emily, who died in a car accident in this very county 19 years ago. For years, he's quietly pulled over for stranded travelers, jump-starting dead batteries, fixing flat tires, even covering hotel rooms and groceries, all in memory of the daughter he said he couldn't save, but could still honor. A short clip played, footage of David accepting a small local award the night before. He was shy, awkward on stage, waving off the applause with one hand in his pocket and the other holding a manila envelope. He said just one thing. "Don't thank me. Just don't stop for a second when you see someone standing in the rain." I sat there stunned, not because he was on the news, but because I'd almost never known. He hadn't bragged. He hadn't hinted. He didn't even wait for a thank you. He just helped, then disappeared. He had lost someone, and instead of letting it close him off, he opened himself to every stranger who reminded him of a daughter he missed every day. And that night, on a cold, rainy road, that stranger was me. I kept the news segment playing on my phone all the way home, not because I needed to hear it again, but because something in me had shifted. I wasn't just a girl who failed and went home with her tail between her legs. I was someone a man like that saw and believed in, even for 5 minutes. And if he believed I had more to do, then maybe I still did. I never saw him again. I checked the foundation's website listed on the news channel. A simple site, just like him. No donate button, no big campaign, just stories. Stories from people who had been stranded, stuck, scared, and helped. Dozens of them. Some had received cash, some a hot meal, some a full tank of gas and a smile. All of them had met David Granger, and none of them forgot him. I added my story to the guest book with just one line. "You didn't just get my car running. You got my spirit back on the road." 2 weeks later, I re-enrolled in school. Not because everything was suddenly fixed, but because I wanted to try again. I called my parents, told them the truth, cried more in that phone call than I had in months. They didn't shame me. They said, "Come home, then go back stronger." And I did. I got a part-time job at campus security, of all things, walking people to their cars at night, keeping an eye on students who looked lost or overwhelmed. And on my second week back, I saw a girl sitting on the curb, holding a dead phone and trying not to cry. Her backpack was soaked, her jacket too thin. I didn't hesitate. I sat down beside her and asked, "Need a charger or a jump?" She blinked at me like I was a ghost. "My ride's not answering," she whispered. "I think they forgot." I handed her a charger and a protein bar from my bag. She smiled. Before I left, I gave her something else, a small envelope. Inside it, a $20 bill and a handwritten note. "Use this to get home safe, but don't stay there long. You've got more to do." I still keep the original envelope he left me. It's in my desk drawer, right beside my graduation application. Next to it, a sticky note that says, "Don't give up in the rain. Someone's watching who believes you can still make it." Because someone once pulled over for me. And now, I pull over too. Some angels don't wear wings. They don't say much. They don't wait for applause. They just show up quietly when you need them most and remind you who you still are, even when you've forgotten. He saved a part of me that night, and because of him, I kept going.